Hello there. So this model, the Honda HRN 216, there's also the little more expensive model by a couple $100, the HVX 217. There's a different mulch slash bag control lever. Location is different, and it's got adjustable positions on the 217 model. It was in the back corner here. You've probably seen a few videos of that if you searched about the different lawnmower types of the model line. And one thing that was neat about that is it actually had different indentations that you could stop at to control the chute opening within the mower deck. So you can actually kind of split 50-50 between bagging and mulching, or if you didn't want to mulch 100% because your grass is, say, a bit wet, or you're cutting a bit more off than you should, you can kind of proportion it. So you are actually mulching a portion of it, and then without the bag on, the rest of it is also getting discharged out the back. So it's kind of mulching and discharging, but you're not 100% mulching or bogging down depending on what you're trying to cut. So I'll show you that here. Again, this is all just kind of one of those manufacturer things. Okay, I'll move you here. Sorry about that. Where, you know, typically if you buy the next step up, you get a couple more features. But this looks like it's something that the do-it-homer, do-it-yourselfer, if you're curious about it, you could actually create a proportioning system yourself. So here there's a step, so you can move it to the mulch. And then this little finger locks into that step, so now it doesn't move. There's also the step on this side next to the bag, so that you move it to this way, and it sits in there. Well, the 217 model, there's a full part number, right? So you can go partially in all different, it can say several different steps throughout to have a partial bag mulch, kind of like your own customization for it. Let me just check the screen. Yeah, there you are. So with this here, really, it's just a plastic tab. So obviously, this is not going to help your warranty. I don't know if this actual part, I didn't look at that to compare dimensions, if it's the same cut, length, and curvature that's through the deck towards the back for the more expensive model, that this labeled plate is interchangeable. Honestly, I can't remember if the selector indicator was up top or down below and the handle was just up top. I apologize about that, but for instance for this, if you've got a Dremel or other assorted tool, like one of those oscillating edging tools or something that you can, you know, you don't want to butcher your own machine, but if you want to try cutting in, now I don't know if this is formed where if these are like, say, grid marks for plastic, like when you 3D print stuff, or mold marks in through here, if this is probably not solid plastic, but if you just cut that thickness of, say it's maybe a heavy 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8. If you just cut that notch into here at different locations throughout, then that would give you the adjustment ability, just like the more expensive by $200 and some, the 217 series of Honda Mower has. I mean, there's other features that Mower has too, but that's just a possibility of one thing of kind of merging the two worlds together in your own lawnmower in a more affordable, well, relatively to the two price lines, more affordable lawnmower. And yeah, that's all I was going to say about that. Now, I'll show you the two blade system. Yesterday I was trying to film this and I wasn't paying attention. I ran out of memory card space, so hang on here for a second. So again, not necessarily again, it's again to me because I was just stating this the other day. We'll just raise you up here, just to lower you again in a couple minutes. Just hang tight. So this mower, be it when you're outside or here on the table, you want to look underneath, check how things are doing, see if you're plugging up or whatnot when your motor's not running, obviously. I guess safety shouldn't be obvious, but yep, just make sure your mower's off. When you when you lift the front end up to look at it, it'll bind up if you don't have the bag on the back. The bag chute in the back here is long enough, so when you lift it, you're going to hit a point where it's like, whoa, I'm hitting resistance, why isn't this going? And it's not the handle hitting the ground, it's your bag chute. So then what you do is as you lift it, there I'm hitting at that angle there, pull it forward. And the chute will open up, allowing you to lift it up higher so you can actually look at it and it'll stay standing up by itself. Okay. Now this is actually kind of nice being up on a table. It is a heavier, you gotta lift properly with your knees, not your back, or your legs, pardon me, but it's a fairly heavy unit. But being on a table, it's allowing the the handle assembly to actually go below the plane that the lawnmower is sitting on, so it's actually able to sit up much higher. Obviously you could do it as well just by loosening your handle mount or just releasing your handle mount lever, and then when you rotate the handle forward you can lift the whole thing back. Actually, let's try that. What the heck. And this will put the actual weight of the mower on the chute being open, so I'm going to have to kind of be careful. I haven't tried this before, so just pulling the handle quarter turn, it just comes up on its like rounded edge to pull the pin out to release it on both sides, and then that folds forward. And that's actually, like I say, that's how it comes in the box too. When it comes in the box, it's like this. The bag frame and the bag material that you have to put on the bag are in and amongst this, and the manual and the oil and everything else is kind of put in here as well. But this is it. There's no assembly per se. You just have to add your oil and then your gas and remove all the different packaging, sticky tapes to keep things pretty. So with this then, so this may become a bit unruly as well because the handle may want to come back and smack me in the head as I do this. So it's going to be kind of a balancing act. So as I lift it, the back chute is going to hit the table or the ground if you're on the ground. Perhaps these extensions from the handle being collapsed will actually hit the back and support it as well. So this might be neat. And now with this possibly fixed, it may start dripping out the cap. I don't know, maybe that's what that material's there to stop though too. So if we lift it up, okay, interesting. It wouldn't stay up by itself. So the handle actually, and this is where I ran into the problem, not the problem, but it wants to actually try and start as if you're pull starting the motor. So that's what you're fighting against here, is you're actually turning the motor. And then I'll release this into the highest setting. Okay, so back to square one, which we're starting with initially. And I might as well move you over here for a second. I'll show you where it's actually binding. We're zooming in. Alright, so now, as you lift the front, so the bottom here hits. So if you try and lift it and getting kind of rough with it, it's going to eventually fold up or mess up the material here. So just lift this up, or like I was saying too, you can just pull forward the lawnmower. As you pull forward the lawnmower, that'll hit the ground and just kind of roll out with it. Alright, back to the blade system. Okay, so this is the two-blade system on this Honda mower. And I actually had to take these off and fix up a mistake I made by hitting a pretty large rock, which damaged the blades. And I just kind of straightened it back out again, straightened the cutting edge back out again, and ground it back so that both sides of the blade matched, and it'd be a bit, hopefully, closer balanced to the original than if you just repaired one side. But this is a two-blade system, so there are two separate blades with a kind of a mold or a press. They fit into each other. Just the way the metal's been stamped, they actually lock into each other, and then these two bolts secure the two blades to the mounting mechanism that's on the shaft of the motor itself. As you can see here too, there's a lot of this resin or plastic in different areas to help guide and create that flow to truck the grass out the back chute port, which is huge, which is awesome. And the different blades have two different designs on this well to assist with lifting up the grass and trying to create enough airflow, like a propeller almost, to throw it out. So as we move the mulch lever, you can see the chute, and that's all the way to the mulch max setting over here. It closes the port, keeping all the grass clippings in here longer as it chops them more times, then drops it to the ground. And that's where I was referring to. The 217 model line has that feature where you can do this in multiple steps. So it's not a complete mulch, it's a partial mulch. And this is so now, if you go say halfway, you can mulch and the grass can still get chucked out and exit out the other side. So this is the chute lever controlling the rotation. Now if I put this on the other side, see the light coming up through. Hopefully the camera's not readjusting. And then as you adjust the lever from bag discharge or just rear discharge, we actually rotate this ring and move it over too. And then there you see that's on the mulch setting, which closes off your exit to the bag or the rear discharge area and forces it here. So in the 217 model, you can move it in partial increments and just do a partial mulch, a 50% mulch per se, if you will. And yep, some people might say, well, why do you need that? Why not just do one or the other? Well, if you like to tinker and play with things and put something on your model the next model up has that's substantially more expensive, hey, why not? You know, it's kind of a cool feature. And yeah, so also with this, let me zoom you back out. Try not to kick you around. This shows the construction of the machine too. So when you see pictures of it, you see all the plastic up top with the logo and whatnot, but underneath it is actually metal. So it's not plastic holding it there. Okay, there we go. It's probably from that rock I smacked. I'm just being careless. This is actually metal that the mechanism for adjusting the wheels and holding the wheels on is bolted to. For some reason, when you look at the pictures online, you see the plastic and you think, oh boy, how much of this is plastic up front? Which, plastic is great in its own means, you know, don't get me wrong. But there you can actually see, so it's metal. The whole tub is curved nicely. Everything for aerodynamics to try and chuck that grass out as best as possible. And in the back, we've got the drivetrain. Okay, I'm just going to move you a bit here again. Alright, we're back. So this is going to be a part of the maintenance routine later on. I'm not sure which hour marker it is, but you need to adjust the belt tension for your drive mechanism. And this is where we're looking here. This is the drive mechanism, and then there's the pulley back up in here where your belt that's up here, that's on another pulley that's on the same shaft as your belts, because it's just a one shaft straight up into the motor. So the shaft comes out of the motor from the crank, hits the pulley, and the belt rides on that, and then just lower than that is where the mechanism that's bolted to it to support your blades. That's why it's all controlled by the one system. So if your motor RPM changes, your blades will change speed, and it might be less apparent, but your drive will change speed as well. But then sometimes, say if it slows down, you just hit the speed control a bit faster, then you won't necessarily notice it. But so I need to adjust the belt tension. That's the drive mechanism going across there. For the rear wheels.